So how long do I give it for somebody to join? You'll be able to tell, right? I can. Really? That's what my name tag says. Hi, my name's Richard Kelly. I am the Educational Projects Coordinator at My Blind Spot. My background, I'm from a little town in northwest central Iowa. We have a little identity crisis. Some people put us in north central, some put us in northwest. We're kind of right on the cusp. But it's a small farming community. I attended the University of Iowa, received a bachelor's degree in political science with a history minor, and then I went on to pick up my secondary teacher certification, which was valid for 10 years. Substitute taught for several years. And with my vision fading and the fact that I didn't coach, that was a real hindrance to landing a teaching situation in Iowa. So I eventually started a little home business called Kelly's Home Computing and began using a personal computer. I used one in 1988 with WordPerfect 5.0 and DOS 3.2.1. Little 10 megabyte hard drive that everyone said was cavernous, and it's laughable now when you look back at that. But and I knew that with the vision fading and access to started out with JAWS for DOS, I wanted to control my own finances. So I started out with a little accounting package called Money Counts from a company called Parsons Technology. And eventually that transitioned into Money Counts for Business. And then Intuit decided it was wise to purchase Parsons Technology, and they put Money Counts to rest and gave me the option to transition to QuickBooks for Windows. So I received, actually it was QuickBooks 3, and then started looking at it more seriously with 4. It was really such a monster. JAWS 1.0 and Windows 3.11, just, if anyone remembers back that far. It worked sort of, but it that would be my little dog, Rory, and I don't know how big of a distraction that is, but we'll continue on. Anyway, really got serious about using QuickBooks with version 5, and at that stage, there were, without scripts, you could go tabbing through the program and have no clue where you were. But there was, workarounds that you could do. I told the program to autofill a new transaction with the data from the last time I had dealings with that company or individual. So I'd be editing all the time as I used QuickBooks, and that was the mid-90s. And for about 20 years, everybody told me that a blind person just could not use QuickBooks. It was not possible, but nonetheless, I was doing it. Then QuickBooks 2013 came out, and suddenly JAWS, which had been the only screen reader I tried that would do anything with QuickBooks, was dead in the water. You arrowed up and down through the menus. It did not track the highlighting, and I thought, I'm going to be stuck using 2012 as long as I can, and hopefully I'll find something else. And then I heard stories of My Blind Spot, and I started checking into that and asked to be put on as one of the beta testers, and I conversed with Albert for about 8 or 9 months and eventually was added on in November of, now I don't remember, it was 2014 or might have been 2014, came out in 2013, so it was November of 2013. And after a short period of demonstrating my knowledge of the program, and I was just absolutely blown away by what the scripts were doing. For the first time, tabbing through, say, something as basic as writing a check, I knew which data field I was on. I had not experienced that before and didn't believe I ever would. I'll backpedal a little bit because I'd knocked on Intuit's door off and on for years, and at one point, around 2000, I actually got onto the testing pool and thought I was making some headway. And when I called back to thank the woman in the office of the president for getting me involved in testing, was informed she'd been promoted off to another situation, and the replacement person politely informed me that at that time, Intuit was not interested in my needs as a blind person. Now, with the cooperation of my blind spot and Intuit, starting with version 2014, all of that had changed. And there were still skeptics that said this won't go anywhere. But here we are. We started working on version 2014, and now we've been testing 2019. So, count it up. The impossible, as many people said, is actually happening, and we have a commitment from Intuit to continue to improve the accessibility of the program. I'm trying to think where to go from here. What I do, and as I said, with 2014, when I demonstrated a knowledge of the product, Albert asked me, would you like to work for us? And he asked me, would it be possible to produce some virtual training materials? And initially I thought audio. That's, even though, the mission was clear that we were looking for the blind and other print disabilities, I was still kind of focused on blind since that's where I'm at. And Albert reminded me, no, we needed actual videos. So did a little research and found out that I could use a program called Camtasia to capture the screen and my narration of what I was doing. And then I could pull that off into another program and do a little bit of basic video trimming to cut out the clearing of the throat and other errors that you make when you're trying to make a beautiful recording, and tighten it up. So it actually was possible for the blind guy to produce little videos. And at this point, we have 64 that were produced with QuickBooks 2014 and 15. And while that may sound a little dated, the interface of the product from year to year generally does not change, and that's to our benefit. The changes that we're seeing now are under the hood, so to speak. The engineers are going back to that legacy software that was written before a lot of the accessibility features were even thought of, really, for us. And they're doing some reprogramming or making overlays. And of course, we've got the excellent scripter, John Martin, that has worked miracles. And we also had Stephen Clark working with us in the early years to tweak those scripts. And we're still making improvements. And those who've used the product through the years with us will see improvements when the 2019 release comes out too. Another part of the training materials, Real World Training gave us unfettered access to their training materials and said, have at it, revise it for the blind. And a woman by the name of Vita Zavoli from out in California teamed up with me, and we went through their materials, and we created the QuickBooks User's Guide that we sell. So you have actual keystroke instructions on how to navigate the QuickBooks program. You've got the 64 virtual lessons so you can see a demonstration of many of the features being used in the program. And the combination of the two, for a lot of people that are motivated self-starters, you can sit down and work through the features of the program that you want to use the most. And there's enough knowledge you pick up as you go through. You'll sort out other areas that maybe are not covered specifically by the virtual lessons at this point. We also do offer trainings. Individuals, we just completed one individual 40 hours of training, and it was literally using the JAWS tandem and a lot of hands-on back and forth, demonstrate to the student and have them demonstrate back to make sure that they're getting the concepts of how does JAWS navigate this program. Many people, are a little intimidated by QuickBooks. It's a big program, but if you have the fundamentals of accounting and know how to manage a checkbook, everything flows in and out of your checkbook or your credit card. And people should not let the size of what the program can do intimidate them. You take it a step by step. You build on each of those steps, And as you need, the more advanced features, you'll pick up on it, and in no time, you'll be doing it without really thinking about it. It's a really great accounting package. You know, our sighted colleagues, they have many choices that they can use, but to my knowledge, this is the only product out there right now that is truly in the U.S. market, um, designed for our market and is as accessible as it is, and it continues to grow to become more accessible. Any comments, questions?
All right, that's good, Richard. You could say hi to Noella and Lisa. They both liked your video so far, and we have a few people watching. But you could just wrap it up and tell everyone to like and share your video, and then comment below any questions because we could still answer them after the video is over.
Okay. Hey, Noella and Lisa, thank you for joining us, and the others as well. Feel free to share the video. Hope you like it. Pass it on to your friends. There are still a lot of people out there that think QuickBooks is not accessible, and they also confuse Quicken, which was the personal product that Intuit had, with QuickBooks, and they're quite radically different. The interfaces are quite different. Every time I ever looked at Quicken, I thought it was a cluttered monster, and actually I think QuickBooks is easier to use than Quicken ever was. So if, eventually if you have other questions or comments, feel free to ask them, and I'll do what I can to get back to you and answer. Thank you for joining us today.